The year is 1068, the place, Misilmeri in Sicily. Ayyub, a Zirid prince of Tunisia, has just taken power in the major Saracen cities on the island. Now, at the command of a large army, Ayyub has surprised a contingent of cavalry led by Roger of Hautville, the Norman adventurer who has conquered the northeastern portion of Sicily. Roger is unprepared for battle, and Ayyub knows it. Ever since the great Norman victory at Cerami in 1063, Ayyub has been thirsting for a rematch. Now, he has his chance, and he's well equipped to decimate this small Norman force. But can Roger rally his knights to counter Ayyub's ambush? In the 9th century, North African Berbers conquered Sicily, and the island was firmly under Saracen rule for the next 200 years. But all that began to change in the 1060s, when Normans from southern Italy penetrated the island. The Normans conquered Messina and most of the Val d'Amone, and then confirmed those conquests by delivering a crushing defeat to the Saracens at the Battle of Cerami in 1063. The leader of the Normans in Sicily was Roger of Hautville, a dashing, bold young warrior prince who fought hard beside his men and feasted jovially with them at the end of a battle. At Cerami, he led the charge, making himself a legend. But he suffered from a chronic shortage of manpower. With only a few hundred knights, he maintained his corner of Sicily, but he lacked the numbers to press forward. For the time being, he led his cavalry on regular raids, enriching his knights with plunder and keeping the enemy on the defensive. Although progress was frustratingly slow for this ambitious young Norman, trends were working in his favor. By the mid-1060s, his men collected considerable tributes from the Saracen towns. After Cerami, the Saracens of Sicily fell into conflict with one another. The Berbers from Tunisia, led by Prince Ayyub of the Zirid dynasty, struggled for control of the island with the emir of Syracuse, Ibn al-Hawas, who rallied the local Sicilian Arabs around himself. In 1067, Ayyub led a Zirid army against a force under Ibn al-Hawas. The result, a total victory for Ayyub, with Ibn al-Hawas dying in battle. Ayyub was now recognized as ruler in Agrigento, Enna, and Palermo. Although he'd vanquished his rival, Ayyub's rule was still vulnerable. Factions within Sicily continued to resist the Berbers, and civil war remained a possibility. Ayyub decided that he could best legitimize his authority by defeating the Normans once and for all. And so, in the summer of 1068, he marched out of Palermo at the head of the largest Saracen army assembled against the Normans in 5 years. His goal, ambush Roger in the midst of a raid and crush the Normans in battle. One morning, in 1068, Roger was leading a raid to the south of Palermo, the wealthiest city on the island. Suddenly, Roger found his way forward blocked. There, near the town of Misilmeri, an enormous Saracen army was drawn up in battle formation under the command of Prince Ayyub. To say that Roger was caught unprepared would be an understatement. But if he was afraid, he didn't show it to his men. Roger had a way of laughing in the face of danger that inflamed the fighting spirits of his knights. He reminded them of their victory at Cerami and urged them to trust in God, who would not fail them. Roger's knights shouted out their eagerness for the fight. By now, these men had been acting together as a unit for some time, and they were confident in their effectiveness in the field. The Normans fell into formation around their leader. Because they were desperately outnumbered, their fate hung on the power and cohesion of their charge. Roger gave the order, and he and his men thundered toward the great Saracen host. With almost a single blow, the Normans scattered Ayyub's army. Once the Saracen formations were shattered, the Normans ruthlessly pursued the fleeing soldiers, cutting them down across the countryside. When it was over, hardly a single Saracen remained alive to take the terrible news back to Palermo. But Roger himself found a way to spread the word. Among the heaps of plunder taken from the Zirid camp, the Normans discovered baskets of carrier pigeons. Roger had messages, written in Saracen blood, tied to the feet of the birds, which were then released to fly back to Palermo. The Battle of Misilmeri was a serious blow to the Saracen resistance in Sicily. Because it took place so near to Palermo, it revealed the capital city's vulnerabilities. Ayyub had staked everything on this offensive, and his failure destroyed his reputation. The Zirid prince fled back to North Africa, leaving the Saracens of Sicily in a state of disorder. But Roger was not yet equipped to follow up this victory with an attack on Palermo, which was extremely well defended. Still, he commanded only a few hundred men, and he could not both garrison his conquests and conduct a large-scale siege. For now, Roger had to maintain his position and await the day when reinforcements could be sent by his brother, Robert Guiscard, to complete Sicily's conquest. With Misilmeri under their belt, the Normans had racked up a long string of victories over the Saracens of Sicily. This was a remarkable achievement, for Palermo was one of the richest cities in the Mediterranean, and the Saracens on the island were well equipped and effective. But the Normans showed a talent for the battlefield that seems to have outstripped virtually all other powers of their generation. They combined quick and cohesive cavalry tactics with cunning, boldness, and a raw fighting strength.